June 18, 2023, 8 a.m., North Atlantic Ocean. 5 people climbed into a submersible called Titan. Destination: the Titanic wreck, 12,500 feet below. The descent takes 2 hours. Communication happens via text messages. Short, simple, all good. At 9:45 a.m., the last message arrives. Then silence. For days later, debris is found. Catastrophic implosion. All 5 died instantly, crushed by over 5,600 pounds per square inch of pressure. But here's what makes this more than tragic accident. Stockton Rush, CEO of OceanGate and Titan's pilot, had been warned, repeatedly, by leading deep-sea experts. They told him the design was unsafe, that the carbon fiber hull would fail, that he was risking lives. His response: he dismissed them, called their concerns basophobia, fear of the deep, said they were holding back innovation. This wasn't ignorance. Rush had an aerospace engineering degree. He understood the physics. So, why did an intelligent man ignore every expert warning and take people to their deaths? The answer is psychology. Titan had made 13 successful dives before the fatal one. Each time it returned, Rush's confidence grew. See, the experts were wrong, except he hadn't proven them wrong. He'd just been lucky. The carbon fiber was degrading with each dive. Microfractures forming, structural integrity weakening. But success doesn't reveal hidden risks, it hides them. When you succeed repeatedly despite warnings, your brain recalibrates what safe means. What experts call dangerous, you start calling proven. This is the same psychology that caused the Challenger explosion. NASA had launched successfully with O-ring erosion multiple times. Each success normalized the risk. Until it didn't. Rush made 13 dives. The 14th killed everyone aboard. This isn't just about one man's overconfidence. It's about the psychology that makes intelligent people ignore red flags, that makes warnings sound like obstacles instead of lifelines. It's about what happens when you confuse "it has and failed yet" with "it will and fail." And it's about you, because the same psychology that killed 5 people in the North Atlantic is operating in your decisions right now. In 2018, the Marine Technology Society sent Rush a letter signed by dozens of deep-sea experts. The current experimental approach adopted by OceanGate could result in negative outcomes that would have serious consequences for everyone in the industry. They were being precise. The carbon fiber hull had never been tested at Titanic depths. The certification he was skipping existed for a reason. Rush doubled down. He said the industry was stifling innovation, that regulations didn't understand modern materials, that he was breaking rules for progress. Here's the psychological trap one you've probably fallen into: expert dismissal through reframing. When experts tell you what you don't want to hear, your brain finds ways to discredit them, not because they're wrong, but because accepting their right means accepting you're wrong. Rush reframed expert concern as fear of innovation. He positioned himself as the visionary, them as obstacles. This is motivated reasoning, interpreting evidence to confirm what you already want to believe. Rush wanted to believe Titan was safe. So, when experts disagreed, he found reasons to dismiss them. They're stuck in old thinking. They don't understand carbon fiber. They're threatened by disruption. None of this was true. The experts knew carbon fiber behaves unpredictably under cyclic pressure, that it doesn't show warning signs before catastrophic failure like metal does. But motivated reasoning doesn't care about truth. It protects your existing belief. There's another factor: authority bias inversion. When authority contradicts what you want, some personalities flip the script. They view authority itself as suspect. Real innovators always face resistance. They said the Wright brothers couldn't fly. This gives you permission to ignore anyone. If expert consensus can be dismissed as resistance to innovation, no warning can reach you. You become unteachable. Now ask yourself, have you ever ignored your doctor because you read something online? Dismissed financial advice because they don't understand your situation? Overridden safety warnings because you know what you're doing? That feeling of they don't get it. But I do. That's the same psychology. Rush wasn't uniquely arrogant. He was human. The experts were right. The carbon fiber failed exactly as predicted. But by the time Rush realized it, he was 12,500 feet underwater with no way back. Titan made 13 successful dives before the fatal one. After each, Rush's confidence grew. After each return, expert warnings seemed like overreaction. Dive 5, no problem. Dive 10, still fine. Dive 13, the submersible is proven. This is normalization of deviance, one of the most dangerous psychological phenomena in high-risk operations. NASA saw this with Challenger. O-ring erosion on previous flights became normal. Not safe but normal. The acceptable risk threshold kept shifting. Rush fell into the same trap. Each successful dive told his brain, the experts were wrong. But that's not what was happening. Carbon fiber was degrading. Microfractures forming with each pressure cycle. The hull was weakening. Carbon fiber doesn't give warning signs like metal. Metal bends before it breaks. Carbon fiber looks fine until it catastrophically fails. Rush saw 13 successful dives. Reality was 13 dives closer to failure. This reveals something crucial. We confuse absence of disaster with presence of safety. Drive without a seatbelt 100 times without crashing. Your brain interprets, not wearing a seatbelt is fine. Not I got lucky 100 times. Skip backups 50 times without losing data. You think I don't need backups. Not I've been lucky 50 times. This is outcome bias, judging decisions by results rather than quality of the decision at the time. Rush judged his design by outcome. We're still alive. But that's not how risk works. Every risky action that doesn't result in disaster doesn't prove safety. It just proves disaster hasn't happened yet. There's also survivorship bias. Rush only counted successful dives. He couldn't count the failure because, by definition, you can't count it until it happens. Like saying I've driven drunk 20 times without crashing. So, it's safe. The 21st time kills you. But you're not around to update your belief. Before Titan imploded, Rush had 100% success. In his mind, that was proof. You do this too. Every time you think I've done this before and it was fine, you're normalizing deviation. The question isn't has it failed? The question is, what's the cumulative probability of failure over repeated exposure? Rush never asked that question, and it killed him. OceanGate charged $250,000 per person. 5 passengers per dive. That's $1.5 million per trip. Titan wasn't just Rush's passion. It was his business model, and the business was struggling. Official certification would take years and cost millions. Extensive testing, redesigns, third-party validation. Years without revenue. Mounting costs. So Rush decided, skip certification, call it experimental, market it as innovation. This wasn't just ego. It was money. This is motivated reasoning under financial pressure. When your income depends on a decision, your brain becomes extremely creative justifying it. Research shows financial incentives don't just motivate behavior, they distort judgment. When Rush looked at safety concerns, he saw, stop operations equals lose revenue. Get certification equals out of business before it's done. Admit design is flawed equals refund customers. This creates sunk cost fallacy on steroids. Rush had invested years and millions. Admitting Titan was unsafe meant all that was worthless. So, his brain found reasons why it was actually safe. Not because evidence supported it, because the alternative was unacceptable. This is loss aversion. The pain of losing your investment outweighs rational risk assessment. It gets worse. Rush wasn't just risking his life. He was selling tickets. Every customer who paid $250,000 validated his decision. If rich people trust it, it must be safe. This is social proof as risk justification, using others' decisions as evidence you're right. But those customers weren't experts. They were tourists who trusted Rush. They didn't know the hull was uncertified. That experts had warned. That past success didn't prove safety. They trusted. Rush took their money. Now the uncomfortable question: have you made a risky decision because you couldn't afford the alternative? Skipped proper process because it was too expensive? Convinced yourself it'll be fine because admitting risk meant losing what you'd invested? That's not unique to Rush. That's human nature under pressure. The difference is scale. Skip backing up your work because it takes too long. You risk losing files. Rush skipped certification because it took too long. He risked lives. Same psychology, different consequences. June 18, 2023. That psychology killed 5 people. When commercial pressure conflicts with safety, and your income depends on speed over caution, psychology really picks business survival over human survival. Rush chose wrong, and died for it. After the implosion, investigators found something damning. OceanGate had fired an employee who raised safety concerns. David Lockridge wrote a detailed safety report. Rush's response: fire him, sue him for breach of confidentiality. Warnings weren't just ignored. They were actively suppressed. But here's what matters. This isn't about one reckless CEO. It's about the psychology that makes all of us ignore red flags. Before Titan imploded, there were clear red flags. Experts warned the design was unsafe. Rush's rationalization: they're stuck in old thinking. The carbon fiber made cracking sounds during dives. Rush: that's normal material behavior. An employee wrote a safety report. Rush: fire him. The submersible was uncertified. Rush: certification stifles innovation. Everyone should have been a stop sign. But when you're invested emotionally, financially, reputationally, red flags don't look like warnings. They look like obstacles. This is cognitive dissonance reduction. Your brain doesn't like contradictory beliefs. I am smart and I am making a dangerous mistake can both be true. So, your brain reframes the red flag. Not this is dangerous. This is resistance I need to overcome. The lesson: and don't ignore red flags. That's too simple, because in the moment, red flags don't feel like red flags. They feel like challenges, pessimism, fear holding you back. The real lesson: build systems that force you to acknowledge red flags even when your brain wants to dismiss them. How? External accountability. Rush answered to no one. If you're making high-risk decisions, ensure someone uninvested can veto you. Pre-commitment to thresholds. Before you start, decide: if X happens, I stop. Don't decide when emotionally invested. Red team your decisions. Actively try to find reasons you're wrong. Count near misses. Rush counted successful dives. He should have counted warning signs. Cracking sounds weren't proof it's fine. They were near misses. Listen to people with nothing to gain. Rush's team depended on him. The experts who warned him had nothing to gain, which made them reliable. Here's the hardest lesson. Sometimes you ignore red flags because acknowledging them means losing what you've invested. Rush couldn't accept Titan was unsafe because it meant his business, reputation. Life's work was built on a flawed foundation, so he rationalized, dismissed, convinced himself. Until 12,500 feet underwater, when physics stopped caring about psychology. The question isn't would I ignore red flags? The question is, what am I currently invested in that's making me rationalize away warnings? Because we all have something, and if you don't think you do, that might be the biggest red flag of all.